Did not get up at 5 a.m. this morning like I planned to. I think today I decided I wanted to rest a little bit and getting ready for some stuff. Later on today, I'm going to give a speech. And then tomorrow, I'm doing special training for those of you that want to understand financial illnesses that you want to avoid, these financial sicknesses and problems that are very common in our society that have an easy cure, have a direct cure. I will actually lay that out for you and explain all that to you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you'd like to join the event and they get access to a lot of other special material, I will share the link with you guys in the chat in a second. Don't let me forget to do that. So the cost of lifetime access for all the material and everything that you get to keep forever is $299. So it's a course, but I am going to launch the course with a live training, but also you can actually get in access today for 155 if that's something you want to do for your family. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically talk about the eight biggest financial illnesses that people run into, how to diagnose them in yourself, and how to fix them so that you can build generational wealth. So I'm going to share that link with you guys in a second if you are interested in joining. All right. So also the other thing I want to mention is I'm about to send out the link. I'm about to text that out to everybody who's not here yet. So if you want to be on the text list to get a special invitation to our Money in the Morning sessions to come into the private Zoom, just pull out your phone. You can text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. And those of you that are on the text list, you're about to get a text from me basically saying that Money in the Morning is starting now. We do this every single day, 7 days a week at 9 a.m. Central and 10 a.m. Eastern. So you guys can feel free to come in and bring your whole family. It's totally fine. All right. So anyway, yeah. Today I want to actually talk about Black wealth and how Black wealth is Black power and just what that actually means. And what I'm going to do is lay out some stats on what you are doing with your money as Black people, and it's going to make you laugh. It's going to find some of you are going to find it entertaining. Some of you will find it appalling. Maybe some people will hear these things and they don't care. But I think it's very important to understand that when we talk about things like inequality and unfairness in society and the struggles of being Black, I think it's important to understand the root of the struggle. I think it's important to understand why you're struggling. I think it's important to understand exactly how far behind you are financially, and or if you feel powerless, why you feel powerless. If you get concerned, say somebody gets shot by the police because we don't have the economic power to control our communities, it's important to understand like what happened here, like why don't we have this power, and how could we get this power, right? So after we finish sort of being upset about a problem, I think it's important to sort of diagnose and figure out the problem, right? Let me know if you agree with that. Let me know if you understand where I'm coming from. All right. So anyway, I'm sending out the text now. So if you're on the text list, you will get a text from me in 3, 2, 1, and there we go. All right. So I just sent out the text to invite others in who want to come in to Money in the Morning. If you want to get on the text list, this class is free. Just text the word morning to 87948. And also, I'll give you guys don't let me forget to give you guys the link to the event on Sunday so you can kind of take a look at it and decide if that's something that you want to participate in. It's going to happen actually in a platform I have called the Dr. Boyce Academy. And in the Dr. Boyce Academy, it's a space where you can go in and get certifications in certain areas of Black economics. It's the only place that offers certifications in Black economics. And that's something as a college professor that I'm qualified to do. We gave away college degrees at Syracuse University. And so here in the Dr. Boyce Academy, you can actually get a certificate. Once you go through all the material, you will be fully trained on Black Wealth 101. That's what I actually call this course. It covers everything from credit card dependence, impulse buying disorder, the spend luxury syndrome, underinsurance syndrome, retirement neglect, debt accumulation, lack of savings, poor credit management, and all of the things that cause so many problems for so many people. All of the seemingly unfixable problems that we have. Well, there's a solution out there. They can all be fixed. I think it's a matter of just us deciding that we want to fix these things. So as a financial scientist, that's kind of what we do. All right. So anyway, I want to say good morning to Maddie Jackson, Carolyn Powell, Novell, I see you. Noel, I'm sorry. Fannie Wilson from South Carolina, Laquana Dawkins, good morning to you. Jonathan, Terrence Tech, Mari Wilson, good morning, Calvin McWilliams, Josephine Rainwater. Claudia is in London. I love London, one of my favorite cities in the world. I was just in Europe. I did I went to a bunch. I didn't go to London though. I went to Luxembourg and Basel and Brussels and Amsterdam and Croatia, which was pretty amazing. And so, but at some point, I want to go back to London because I just love London that much. Anyway, so let me go ahead and sort of break down some stuff that you may or may not know about black spending, right? So a lot of people, sort of sit there. And I remember one time I was in a meeting with my brother. And my brother is, I changed his diapers, and so he owes me. And he's my homeboy, and he has been the best business partner I've ever had in my life. If you really want to understand what wealth and fulfillment feels like in the world of business, start a good business with family. If you get a chance to work with family, and I'm talking about your good relatives, not the crazy ones. Um, if you start a business with family and you build those bonds very early, people overlook this as a key to wealth. People don't even pay attention to this type of stuff, but I do because I understand like this is where wealth comes from. If you study the Rothschilds and all the other wealthy families, they see things that other people don't see, and one thing that they see is the value of family. So my brother, I used to change his diapers when he was 13, and we formed a very close bond because of that. I rock him to sleep and all that stuff, which really gave me a whole new set of nurturing skills that most 13-year-old boys don't have. When you're 13, you want to play football, beat people up, and throw stuff. At least I did. I was running and jumping and kicking and fighting and everything else. So that, sort of rocking a baby and changing bottles and all that. That was not natural. That did not feel it did not feel like something I should be doing when I was 13, but I'm glad I did it because it opened up a whole nother side of me. When they say talk about getting in touch with your feminine side and your masculine side, I think that's a superpower. I really do. And so anyway, we formed a bond because of that. And through the years, when I was trying to start a business and I didn't know what to do, I didn't have anybody that would help me. Nobody, because you ain't got no money. A lot of people don't want to work with people who ain't got no money. So, especially on their little harebrained idea, and it's not a real business. It's just your little stupid business, right? And but my brother came and worked with me. He believed in me, and that was really important. That's really important. Having somebody that believes in you really matters. And I think, and I would just say, if you marry somebody or marry somebody, or whatever you do with your life, don't marry somebody you don't believe in, because it's not going to bring the best out of them, right? If you marry that man, you got to believe in him, you got to support him, and that means believing in people even when they make mistakes. That means really sticking by them even when they do things wrong. You can't just sort of beat them up so badly when they make a mistake that they lose their confidence. It's like a basketball game. If that's your quarterback, that should be your quarterback. If that's your player, that should be your player, even when he misses shots, even when he has a bad game. And if you notice, good coaches do that. Good coaches say, that's our quarterback. We're sticking with him. That means they're willing to go down with the ship if required. And or to some extent anyway. And I don't know if people really understand that, right? So my brother was like that with me. He was willing to go down with the ship. And believe me, I've made a lot of mistakes, a ton of mistakes. And but he always stood with me, and that helped me to always have the confidence to know that no matter what I went through, no matter what I did, no matter whether I did it right or wrong, he would always be there. He wouldn't just say, "Well, gosh, things are going bad and there's not enough money here, so I got to go." What I mean? Like nobody wants to work with anybody like that. You don't want to marry somebody like that, for example. And so through the years, my brother is probably the most important factor in my ability to be successful in anything. He's that variable. So don't underestimate family when it comes to wealth. Like just really know that family that's God's little pot of gold that he gave you that people overlook all the time. Nowadays people say, "Oh, I don't want to have no kids because kids get in the way of me partying and having fun and all the traveling I want to do, and kids are expensive and they're a pain in the butt." And that means you don't see the value of the kids. That's like somebody laying a slab of, 80 pounds of like raw meat in front of you, and you say, "Well, I'm hungry. There's nothing to eat here." And they're like, "No, there's food. That's food. You can actually you can benefit from it. You just gotta cook it. You just gotta cook it. Like so, with kids, you gotta kind of cook them. You gotta kind of prepare them, right? You gotta get them ready. But if you get them ready, then what I have seen, and I'm old enough to have seen that transition. I'm old enough to have seen people who were young and free and childless, and seeing them have little kids that were really, really a stressor to some extent and expensive. But then those kids grow up, and next thing you know, they've got this really strong family that's where they're able to get support when they need support. They can get help, but it requires some sort of structure, it requires some sort of organizational thinking, it requires some level of consciousness to say, look at everything we have. Instead of me going out and begging the white man to give me what I need, I got everything I need right here. I got 4 or 5 healthy adults all around me who are smart, who have free time, who can be taught skills, who can learn things. Let me put these people. Let's put this whole situation to work. And I'm just telling you that line of thinking. is it's absolutely essential for anybody that I think wants to figure out how to survive as a black person in the society. I really think that what happens is that because we're convinced that we are weak and powerless and pathetic and can't do anything for ourselves, we have no choice but to turn to massa and say, "Save me." That's what happens. That's what they do. That's deliberate. And I'm sorry if that's too direct for some people. Some people think that that talk is radical. Oh, you're talking crazy talk. I'm like, why is this crazy talk? Because these folks are good to you. They treat you well. You feel empowered every time you go into these spaces full of melanin deficient people who treat you like shit. Like, excuse my French. I don't mean to cuss this morning, but seriously, you really feel empowered in that space. You got your little fancy corporate job and you working with Sarah from accounting and Mike from marketing, and they literally give you microaggressions all day. All they're doing is chipping away at your self-esteem, chipping away at your mental health, driving you crazy, got you going in your office punching at the air, hair falling out, stressed out, wrinkles under your eyes, dark circles, and you're losing sleep at night, and you really feel like you're winning. You really feel like that's the best you can do. That's what you really believe that's the best you can do. And you're mad at me because I'm saying to you that I don't think that that is. I think that there was a better plan for you, but I think that you got tricked. I really do. I think a lot of us got tricked. When I was on that faculty at Syracuse University and I would go into that office and I had people that didn't like me without even knowing me, who judged me before they met me, who just looked at me and said, "What is this 31-year-old black man doing up in here, listening to hip hop music and talking about stuff we don't understand?" That was stressful. I didn't enjoy that. The only way I was able to overcome that stress and those microaggressions was when I took control. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm letting go of everything that you taught me about who I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to re-embrace a set of ideas that take me to the optimal solution. And I'm going to find this solution because I'm a mathematician. One thing I learned about in mathematics is that when you want to optimize a solution, you have to minimize the constraints. You have to take the chains off. If you don't take the chains off, then you won't find the optimal solution. So if I say, well, my goal is to have a fulfilled life as a black man, but I'm going to follow all these rules, these stupid rules that were given to me by other people, by other ignorant black people, by ignorant white people, and by the world, and then I'm going to optimize from that, well, you're not going to find the optimal solution. The optimal solution requires a level of consciousness where you elevate outside the building and you're able to engage the world as a free thinker. A free thinker is a person who's not scared to go in directions that are different from where other people go. Now, the downside is that people are going to think you're a weirdo sometimes. The downside is that I have people all the time that I had somebody literally, I kid you not. So who told me? Somebody said this to me the other day. I forgot who it was. Oh, I know who it is. It was one of my friends. And she said, because I mentioned something to her. I said, yeah, there was a guy he's a really famous guy and he got really mad at me because of something I said. And I don't understand why he was so mad at me. And she goes, Boyce, I wish the world could know you the way I know you. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, because of the way you talk, people think that you're mean and you're tough and rough and everything. I said, well, I'm not a wimp. I mean, I am tough, but I don't think I'm a mean person. And she's like, well, you're a nice person, but that doesn't come out in your rhetoric. And I'm like, what's wrong with my rhetoric? What did I say? What did I say? And it went into this whole like, well, it kind of went into stuff like the fact that I don't believe a black person should be forced to vote for any political party unless they choose to. Like I think to me that's a basic idea, right? I don't tell anybody what to do. Y'all know this. I just say do what you want to do. Do what's best for you. They're doing what's best for them. That's why they're winning and you're not. Because they're doing what's best for them and you're doing what's best for them, but nobody's doing what's best for you. My question is not about them, it's really about you. And why are you paying more attention to what they need than you're paying attention to what you need and what y'all need and what we need? And I think that that's an important issue. And then I think it went into like the stuff, the stuff that you post on the things that you post on social media. I just don't understand it, and it can seem kind of harsh. And I'm like, I'm scrolling through my posts. I'm like, okay, so I posted something about little black girls being shot in Chicago. Was that too mean? Was that what or posting something about how if we don't get our economics together, we're gonna end up in last place? Or is that bad? Well, did that hurt somebody's feelings? And this like other, and I'm like, well, what did I do? What did I mean, because I'm a thinker, I think about everything that I say. I do, I really do. I process it before I say it. And it may seem a little bit strange at first, but if you ask me, if you say, well, what made you say that? I can give you a whole dissertation on why I said it and explain it. I don't talk without thinking. I don't that's not a good way to live your life. So my point is to say that I really believe that when you are committed to being a free thinker, the downside of that is that people who are not free thinkers are going to think you're a weirdo. There literally are some people who will object to you doing what you want to do because they are so committed to following the crowd. And then when you ask them, like, why are you following the crowd? They can't tell you why they're following the crowd. They can only say, well, I'm following the crowd because that's where the crowd is going. And I would say, but that's not good enough for me. You need to tell me, I need to know your reason for doing what you're doing, not somebody else's reason, because somebody else's reason will have you out here in a ditch. You will be stuck. Let's talk specifically about the economics of it all. If you look at Black economics, for example, and where we are financially, and the fact that we are not, that we just literally are like the last team in the league. Like every year, like every season, we lose every game 145 to nothing. And there are people who really either think that we're winning when we're not, or don't really believe we can actually win a game. They don't. They're like, no, let's keep playing the same play we ran the last 50,000 times. That's causing us to lose every game, and that's the best play that we can run. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm just not a fan of that, and I will say that, when as I was building my business and building whatever I was doing, whether you call it building a brand or whatever people do, my brother was awesome because my brother, I could have independent thoughts with my brother and say, no, let's do it this way, even though nobody else has done it. I think that's the best solution. And my brother would just run with me. And sometimes it would be the wrong solution. Sometimes it would blow up in my face, but even then he would stick by me. But then every blue moon, I would pick a new solution that would actually take us to a whole nother level, right? I would find something that no one else could see because everyone else is scared to look in the places that society didn't tell them about. Okay. So I really think that if you want to find an optimal life, if you want to live the best life you can possibly be, I think the first step would be to release your chains, let go of underlying assumptions, stop letting other people tell you what to do and what to think. Don't just hold on to it just because grandma told you to do it or just because your daddy told you to do it. Your daddy and your grandma might have been wrong. And then also, I would say this too: if you're trying to make choices in your life, if somebody's giving me advice, first thing I do is I look at your life and I say, okay, is it working for you? And if it's not working for you, if you're not where you want to be, then that unfortunately undermines the credibility of what you're seeking to tell me to do. So let me read something to you guys really quickly. In terms of what Black people do with our money. Here's a few things I dug up a few stats, and this is something that we're thinking about in terms of the financial STDs that many of us are given at birth and things that we really want to get rid of. First off, we have about 1.6 trillion in spending power. Most of that money doesn't circulate in the Black community. At least 80 to 90% of our retail spending goes to non-Black owned businesses. So Black owned businesses can't grow because we starve them of the resources they need to grow. Black consumers are significant contributors to the luxury market. We spend disproportionately more on high-end brands compared to other demographics, which is very strange considering we complain about money all the time, yet we're the first ones to spend the most money. So maybe the reason we complain about money is because we have no money, and the reason we have no money is because we spend it. Beauty products. Did y'all know? How many of y'all knew this? Did you know that we spend 9 times more on beauty products than non-Black people? Did y'all know that? I didn't know that. That's crazy. So if I'm somebody who's trying to extract wealth out of the Black community, I say, okay, we're going to go into the hair and makeup business. We're going to sell beauty products because they will spend every nickel in their bank account to get beauty products. And I did not know that we spend 9 times more than other communities. That's insane to me. I'm not telling you can't do it. I think my wife is getting her hair done tomorrow, and Black hair is expensive, right? And I like when my wife comes home looking good, but still, though, that's something worth reflecting on to say, my goodness. So this is at least this may not be an excuse, but at least it's an explanation. It's not an excuse, but it's an explanation. An explanation would mean that this tells you whenever you sit around and you say, why don't Black people have financial security? Why are Black people stressed out and afraid that they're going to lose their jobs? Excuse me. Why are we so devastated when the money ain't right? Well, part of it is because maybe we give so much of the money away, right? Part of it may be you can go look in your hair closet and your makeup kits and kind of see where a lot of your money went. And again, this is really more so about financial consciousness. It's not me judging you what you do with your money. So if you're going to the beauty salon today, go ahead and go. I want you to look good. All right. So fast food. They said the black community spends 4.5 billion a year on fast food, driven by targeted marketing and limited access to healthier food options. We spend over 15 billion a year on new and used cars. Yet less than 2% of car dealerships are black owned, and also we spend more on new and used cars than other people. We spend about 10 billion on things like cell phones and internet. Let's see, we spend 2 billion a year on entertainment, including movies, concerts, and video games, and we have no ownership, very little ownership in those industries. Other people own the industries, so they sell us the access to our entertainment and our happiness. We do spend money on things like gym memberships and all that, which is good. But even with that, we face higher rates of health issues like diabetes and hypertension. And that hypertension, part of that hypertension probably comes from the fact that you work around white people who stress you out all day long, right? That hypertension is connected to what you're spending your time doing. And so when you get a job, that is like taking on an economic spouse. Like you're married, a lot of you, in fact, if you work 8 hours a day on a job, you spend more time at your job than you spend with your spouse. You spend more time at your job than you spend with your kids. You spend more time at your job than you spend with your friends. You spend more time at the job than you spend with your parents. So you are when you take on that career, that job, that's like taking on a spouse. And so as a person who's married to a relationship therapist, I can tell you that there are studies that show that if your spouse has contempt for you, then you will die earlier than if your spouse loves you. Did y'all know that? How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all knew? Maybe you don't know that. Give me a yes or no if you've ever heard that. That if your spouse has contempt for you, and every day you got to look at somebody who hates your guts and can't stand you and thinks that you're a piece of crap, that contempt will literally seep into your bone, like into your spirits. Like there's this crazy mind body connection where literally you'll just internalize that, and it'll cause all these other ailments. Like, it might trigger the cancer or trigger the diabetes or trigger the hypertension, right? So if you think about it like this, right, and you think about your job as your economic spouse, and you know that when you go to work every day and you work around these white folks who don't understand you, maybe they don't like you or they give you all these microaggressions. There's lots of studies that show that black people are very stressed out when they go to work every day. So you basically are in an economic marriage where your spouse has the utmost contempt for you. And so you're swimming in this sea of trauma, this sea of mental illness. You're swimming in this toxic cesspool of negative energy, and then you wonder why black people get sick and die. Well, I can tell you why we get sick and die. It's because we're trained to get up every day and go to work with people who hate our guts. So if you ever want to know why I passionately believe that every black child should be taught how to start their own business and how to be an investor, it ain't about the money. The money is secondary. It's not just so they can all get rich. I want you to get rich, but that's not the win. The win is safety. The win is mental health. The win is physical health. The win is avoiding daily micro trauma that can kill you. My wife, she's a weirdo like me, and she gets really excited when she starts studying something and sees something that she did not know before. And she's a professor like I am. Her website, by the way, is coachingwithdralicia.com. So you can feel free to go to coachingwithdralicia.com if you want to see what she does. She sees clients and individuals and couples and all that. Anyway, so she gets in the car with me and she was like, Boyce. And I was like, what? Because I know that sound when she says my name like that, like Boyce, that tells me, okay, she's about to tell me something juicy or something that's juicy to her. And just a little tip, if you're married, if it's juicy to her, you got to make it juicy to you. And I'm like, what is it? Right. And so she comes in and she says, I found out today when she's redoing her trauma certification. She has a certification in that. She said, that now the research is showing that the one diagnosis that matters more than any other diagnosis when it comes to mental and physical health is trauma. She said trauma is everything. Trauma is the alpha and the omega for all of the mental and physical ailments that can affect you. Trauma like is the core. Trauma is the root. That is the nuclear bomb that can ruin everything. Trauma can mess up your finances and your economic choices. Trauma will mess up your relationships for life. Trauma will have you dying of cancer at the age of 35. trauma will have you in crazy situations where you are in just a sea of depression and anxiety. Trauma is trauma is big, big, big. And I said, yeah, well, always knew trauma was important. She said, no, no, no. She said, no, 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 that's you don't understand. Trauma is everything. Trauma is, and I said, oh shit. I got nervous because I took this test. It's called the ACEs test, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And I was high on the trauma scale. And I said, damn, like, oh my God. And I'm still working through it. Sometimes I'll have trauma responses to things and I have to mitigate that because trauma's tough. Trauma, in fact, what's crazy about trauma is that not only do most people not know that they have experienced it because they're just like, oh, that's just part of being black, but we don't treat it. We think that, things like getting therapy is for suckers and for white people and all that. And then what happens is that traumatized people infect other people. You re-traumatize other people with your crazy trauma responses. You get in a relationship, somebody says, how are you doing today? And you say, well, what the hell do you mean? Don't make me pull out my gun on you, you crazy SOB. You know what I mean? Or can you pass the ketchup? Why I got to have the ketchup? Can't he pass the ketchup? Right? You know what I'm talking about. Like people that just these just overreaction, crazy trauma responses, or something goes wrong in a relationship. You see one tiny red flag and you sprint for the hills because you don't want to be hurt, right? Because you're so scared of being hurt again. There's just so many different, or you own some stock and the stock goes down 1%. And so you sell everything because you're so scared of losing money. You can just go down the list in terms of what trauma will do and how that will just cause us to mess up everything. So it's not just a matter of messing up your life. It's really a matter of it not healing it is actually destroying your body because you're carrying all that around. Like you're really carrying around this really toxic energy, almost like a sick demon inside your body that you haven't released. And I would encourage everybody, if you can't find some process to deal with your trauma, I would encourage you to one, get educated on it, on what it looks like, how it feels, how to identify it, and then two, start cleaning that out. You got to clear that stuff out. And I'm speaking to you as a traumatized person. I was very high on the trauma scale when I took the Adverse Childhood Experiences test, ACEs. I got a score that was so high, my wife said, "Ooh, if I'd known your score was that high, I don't know if I would have married you." And that made me more conscious of how I react to things. And just learning little things like, okay, boys, you don't have to go off. You don't have to, or you don't have to cut the person off because this happened. Maybe you got to talk to them about it and work through it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to go nuclear. I want to end everything. Right. And it's like, no, but that's not the appropriate response. Let's talk through the conflict. Let's figure it out because this person's important to you and you don't want to lose them. And so, long story short, I would encourage you to look into that. I will tell you that my just strongest belief is that undiagnosed, untreated trauma is the number one problem in the Black community in terms of us being able to not just confront white folks for what they've done to us, but also for us to do what we can to mitigate the issue. Because a lot of this stuff, some of this behavior, some of the stuff that we do with our money, for example, doesn't even make no sense. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense that you're so eager to go give all your money away to people who don't even like you that much, and you give your best to people who hate you the most and all this other stuff. And so, anyway, to just give you kind of a template and a blueprint, if we were to take all the money, if you added up all the money we spend on things like fast food, car notes, and cell phones, the average American spends $1,200 a year on fast food, approximately. The average American spends about $5,500 a year on car notes. That number's actually gone up, but let's say it's 5,500. The average American spends about $1,200 per year on cell phone bills. Well, if you were to add that money up, and let's say that you still bought your food, you still got your car note, you still paid your cell phone bill, you didn't get rid of any of those things, but you simply made a decision. You made a decision to say, I'm going to love myself as much as I love that man over there. I'm going to love my kids as much as I care about the car dealer. I'm going to love my family and my future and my generational wealth as much as I care about the people who sold me the cell phone. As much as I care about Apple and Verizon, I'm going to care about us. And let's say that you just took the amount, that money, that $7,900 a year that the average American spends on fast food, car notes, and cell phone bills, and simply said, I'm going to invest the same amount for my future that I spend on my present, that I'm spending on these material items. Well, if you did that and you simply follow things like the $5 a day plan, which you can find at blackwealthmasterplan.com, it's totally free, blackwealthmasterplan.com. So feel free to go take a look at that. You literally, after about 10 years, your family would have roughly a little bit over $100,000 in wealth based on the past performance of the S&P 500. After 20 years, you're looking at maybe $400,000 that you have in family liquid wealth, which means you're now wealthy. You're now doing better than the overwhelming majority of American people. So in less than 20 years, the average black person, no matter how poor they are, if they simply love themselves economically as much as we love other people, then you literally climb right out of poverty and you shoot past equality and you start shooting toward black excellence, economically speaking. Anyway, you're not trying to catch up with white folks at that point. At that point, white folks are trying to catch up with you because they're looking over at you and they're saying, "My God, how did you get all this money?" And or you're only 20 years old. Well, the kid can say, "Well, my parents for the last 20 years they made a commitment to economic self-love, and the economic self-love means that every penny we spend on the cell phone bill, we're going to put a penny in our S&P 500. Every penny we spend on fast food, we're going to put a penny in our stock portfolio. Every time we spend $1,000 on the car note, we're going to put $1,000 into our stocks, buying S&P 500 companies." So now, because my parents did that, I'm 20 years old and I got $400,000 liquid in assets. So I don't actually have to take a job working for anybody if I don't want to. I just may choose to work for someone, but I don't actually have to because I don't want to necessarily expose myself or expose my spirit to daily economic trauma that comes from me swimming in this cesspool of microaggression and mistreatment and contempt from people who don't really want me there. I don't want to be in a space where people are tolerating me. I don't want to be in a space where people are will hire me despite the fact that I'm black. I want people that want me in that space because I am black. I want people that love me. I want to be around people that respect me. And so if a job doesn't respect me, I'm not taking that job because I've got $400,000 liquid in the bank and I can do whatever I want. And I can tell you this in my experience now that I think about this. My brother, when he came to work with me, I really appreciated him coming to work with me after college because he got a nice job offer from Ford, making maybe $50,000 to $60,000 a year. And my family wanted him to take the job. Because that's just what we did. If you got a good job offer from Ford, you're supposed to take it. And he wanted to come and work with me, and so he did. And I said, "Hey, I can't promise you anything, but I can give you a place to stay, and whatever money I have is your money." And I was making some money at Syracuse, so he came and he worked with me. And in the first few years, we weren't really killing it, but we had enough success that we felt like, okay, maybe there's something here. And so we built by that time, maybe in the first 3 or 4 years, we built a strong enough business that when he went to get his MBA, he only did it because my mother wanted all of her kids to have a master's degree. That was the only reason why he went to get his MBA. He went to Cornell, and also he appreciated by that time as a businessman, he wasn't thinking about getting jobs. He was thinking more so about networking and sort of meeting people that have access to things. And so when he went to Cornell, he was meeting like the children of billionaires and all this other stuff. And when he came out of Cornell, they had a whole big market, a big job market where all these companies were coming in, hiring these Ivy League graduates and offering them $200,000 a year, and he did not go to one single interview. He didn't go to a single interview. And I said, so you're not interested in any of these good jobs? Like, well, what's going on? And he said, you know what? He said, after I got the experience of having the freedom of owning my own business, I can't work for anybody anymore. I can't do it. And we were making enough money that he had plenty of money. He didn't have to go to work every day. He was actually happy with that life. And I was very proud that I was able to, I was happy and I was appreciative of what he gave me. But I was also very proud as a older brother slash daddish kind of figure because I'm 12 years older than him. So I was almost a little bit like a dad because I told you I used to change his diapers. I was very, very proud to be able to give him a safe, comfortable space he could come to and be loved without him having to go out into spaces where he's hated just so he can pay his rent. Do you understand? Right? It was nice to be able to say, "Hey, you know what? Screw those people. Come work with me." Right? And we did, and it was great and it was amazing. So I will just say to you that this to me is a better model. This is the Black Wealth Blueprint, in my opinion. The Black blueprint of economics should be one that is centered not just on how much money you make and having your little black job. It should also focus on the other things that are black, like black owned, black wealth, black family, black mutual support, black love, black connection, like all the black community, right? All these things connect to wealth. They're all connected to wealth. So to me, when you're just talking about black jobs and you're disconnecting it from all the other things that make that job even meaningful and relevant, then I think you're missing a big part of the puzzle. Like, I think that a holistic framework of thinking about our economics is extremely important. Capitalism is extremely limited. Take it from me. Again, remember, I'm not a guy just talking. I'm a finance professor. All we did was we studied capitalism and going all the way back to Adam Smith and then I studied Marxism and everything else. And I respect all these ideas. I don't have any problem with any of these ideas because I think that if you integrate them properly, you can create the right mix that actually works. American capitalism doesn't work very well. I'm not saying capitalism is always bad, but it doesn't work very well. In this country, you have a society that is failing because our obsession with making money causes us to destroy everything else. Money is a big, powerful beast. If you don't control it, it will eat everything in the house. And basically, your politics is jacked up because of the money. We talked yesterday in our financial consciousness discussion. We talked a long time for about how it costs what 2 or 3 or at least 1 to 1.5 billion dollars just to run for president because these super PACs are raising 3-4 billion dollars and it's just made your politics all about the money. So your politicians can't do what's right for the voters because they have to do what's right for the people that control the money. Do you understand? So the money has leaked. It's almost in a toxic fashion, like almost like a toxic leak where something has gotten some nasty chemical has leaked out and has gotten into the food supply and the water supply. Your money has leaked into areas where money really doesn't belong. Like you should not have a healthcare system that's overwhelmed by money. You can't have a society where the politicians are thinking so much about the money they forget about things like the children because the children are that is your future. That's far more important than any amount of money you could ever put on the table. But we ignore our kids. We don't even educate them. Look at how many millions of our kids. These are your kids. These are my kids. These are our children that are coming out of school every year who can't even read, write, or do math at a basic level. But they all twerking. They all know how to recite lyrics from their favorite gangster rapper. They know all this slang that relates to anything toxic they got that down. They've studied toxic behavior. They literally sat there like some of them like little scientists sat there and took notes from some of the rappers, getting paid by these damn record labels on how to destroy your life. Really, I mean, think about this. They got 16-year-old kids that want to go and get high every day on drugs that will fry your brain so badly that you can't come back after you decide you want to just put down the Molly and put down the weed and put down the liquor and put down the pills. You come back, you have crazy because your brain has been destroyed because nobody ever taught you the value of your brain. Nobody helped you understand, like, you're a genius, you're smart, you can really do amazing things, but you got to protect your brain. No, you destroyed it. No different from some of the poor football players who gets all this brain damage in high school and then their brain ain't working right. And then we all act surprised when some football player punches his girlfriend in the face and throws her out the window. What would make a man do that? Brain damage. That doesn't make any sense. Who would do something so crazy like Aaron Hernandez and win a Super Bowl and shoot somebody at the club? Brain damage. but we don't. If you never taught the value of what you have, then you're gonna waste it. You're gonna throw it away. No different from like a little girl who was never taught the value of her body, and then she just shares it with everybody, right? Because she doesn't see it as being important or valuable. When you don't value something, you'll waste it. You'll throw it away. You'll give it away to anybody. You'll give it away for free. So learning little things like self-worth, I think, is not just critical, but that's something we got to do. That's something we got to teach. We have to do this. And we have to think about this like a military invasion, in my opinion. I really do. I think, and I understand why I really get it. When people in the establishment see me as a dangerous person and as a threat, I don't like it. I get mad about it because I think I'm a nice guy, but I actually kind of get it. I understand because I am a threat to you. I'm a complete threat to you because I see through every single freaking thing that you're doing. And I also understand exactly what the remedy is. I understand exactly what needs to be done. And I'm committed to that 100%. I'm 10 toes deep in this. So yeah, I kind of get, I don't, I feel I don't like it. Like I wish we could be friends, but I understand if I'm in your shoes, I understand empathy so well that if I'm in your shoes and I'm profiting from the mass exploitation and destruction of the black community the way you are, I would hate me too. I would have me killed. And believe me, I'm not scared to die. I let that go 10, 15 years ago. So just so you know, if this is ever my last conversation with you, just take everything I've said, the 20,000 videos I've done to this point, and that's what we'll just have to live off of for the next 50 years or whatever. Because like Biggie said, ready to die. Like I ain't none of that stuff scare me. It's because at the end of the day, what you got to understand is that some of this stuff does not make sense. Some of what they're doing to you and doing to your children, what they're taking from you, makes absolutely no sense. It is patently unfair. It is absolutely horrible. And the reality, true, too, at the end of the day, is we have to ask ourselves, why do we tolerate this? Why do I tolerate the idea that you can take my damn kids, my precious, beautiful children who represent my future, and you can destroy that little boy's brain to the point where he becomes a walking tornado and a destroyer in the community? You have made him into a ticking time bomb, into a nuclear warhead. He's going to go through life ruining people's lives, killing other black people, destroying other black people. Like you programmed him like a zombie. And this zombie virus is all throughout. It's all throughout what they call the culture. And part of that disease they're spreading is the disease of trauma. If you've ever seen like a really unhealthy, mentally unhealthy black person and how they behave, and let's say you juice him up with a lot of money and a lot of power, like some NFL player who's 6'5", lots of muscles, very handsome, has $10 million in the bank, and he's famous, and but he's not well trained on how to use that power in an appropriate way, in a beneficial way. What's he gonna do? Well, he's going to go around and do destructive things. He's going to go around and bully people, beat them up. He might go get a bunch of girls pregnant, give a bunch of girls STDs. He's going to have a bunch of kids and that he splatters all over the country that aren't being taken care of, that don't receive the love of a father. So those children end up becoming menaces to society, some of them, right? I knew a guy. There was a guy who was sucked into the culture. This was personal. I knew someone who knew someone. It's kind of like that. And so there's this guy who was in the culture, and he was everything that every stereotype you can think of, weed, liquor, women, drugs, he was a dope dealer, whatever. And this guy, because the sex and the drugs and the irresponsible choices kind of come together in like this little, almost like what you might want to call the Negro self-destruction package that's heavily marketed through hip hop. Um, he ends up doing a lot of interesting things in his life. So he becomes a drug dealer. He doesn't get a good education in the school system, so he doesn't have any. He feels like he has no other options anyway. He's killed a few black people, and then on top of that, he got about 27 girls pregnant. He had 27 kids. Let me say, I don't know if he got 27 girls pregnant. Let's say it's 27 kids, literally 27 kids by about 19 or 20 women. Okay, so all these women, and so what's coming with that obviously is not just the trauma, but the STDs, right? That clearly you have sex with that many people unprotected. We know what's coming from that. And then in the middle of it all, he goes out and gets killed. He gets murdered because his life catches up with him. All the people you're killing, the people you're dealing with, and the situations you're in leads to his death. So then in the aftermath of this black man's death are 27 abandoned children who've been financially abandoned. They've been emotionally abandoned. They're out in the streets or out in the culture. Their mothers don't have anybody helping out. And so what's happened is you've taken a virus, and you've multiplied it. It's multiplied by at least 27. So again, not to say all these kids are doomed. I'm not saying that at all. Somebody may intervene, but if no one does intervene, then now you've taken something that was coming from one person and now it's coming from 27 different sources. Do you understand? And what this really does is it just makes it really hard to be black. And I think it creates a space where this racist partnership just creates this framework where sure, yeah, white people are doing a lot of this stuff. They're participating systematically. They've been doing it for a long time, but then we become partners in our own self-destruction, and then it just becomes very difficult to do really anything positive because you're surrounded by people that are sort of connected to this negative set of ideas, this unproductive, unhealthy framework of what it means to be black. And so I personally think that this is a battle, and I think that we have to be serious about it. I think that we can make it very, very simple. We can go back to those basic three areas I mentioned before: health, wealth, and relationships, and ask ourselves that question: what does it mean for a black child or a black person to be mentally and physically healthy? What does it mean for that person to be to have healthy relationships and to want healthy relationships with other people and to be able to identify and build healthy relationships? And then what does it mean for that person to understand the importance of financial security? Because your financial security affects the other two areas. If you are financially secure and financially capable, you can have healthier relationships because you can get married. You don't have to argue about money. Your kids need a pair of shoes. You can just buy them. You don't have these goofy conversations that are happening all over the internet where people are mad because there's some women who don't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory or they want the man to spend $50 on a date, and guys are saying, "Oh, that whole crazy. What's wrong with these women wanting $50?" And I'm not making fun of those guys. I get it, right? If somebody's trying to take you for all your money, that's wrong. But I'm like, you know what? A financially secure man doesn't care. Like if he likes a woman, he's gonna spend $50. When I got a chance to go out with my wife, I didn't care if I spent $50, $60, or $200. I was just happy to be with that woman and I was thinking about other things. Do you understand? But when you're talking about a scarcity mindset, when they put you in a space where you have been taught to fight for scraps because ain't nobody got nothing, then yeah, $50 becomes something where people are getting killed over $50, or entire relationships are being destroyed over $50, or children that would have been born aren't born now because you didn't have the $50 to take their mom on a date. God gave you the keys to the kingdom. He opened a wormhole of possibility where you would have this amazing family and this amazing experience and an amazing future, but you can't even go through the wormhole because the cost of admission is $50 and you ain't got $50 in the bank. I'm not making fun of that. I promise you I'm not. What I'm saying to you is what does drive me crazy, one of my pet peeves is when we don't take a moment to try to look at the bigger picture. We can't because nobody taught us the bigger picture. Nobody sat and just said, let's look at this thing real quick. Let's go 50 years in the future and look back at you at the age of 25 and you're meeting this young woman and I know I get it. You're focused on how cute she is and that she has a big booty and that Cheesecake Factory is going to cost you $50. But also kind of look at it like, what if she's the person that's supposed to give birth to your children? What if she's the person that's going to make you a grandfather one day? And 50 years from now, you're going to be sitting at a Thanksgiving dinner with 70 people at the dinner who are descendants of yours, children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren. And it all starts with this seed of this little moment that God has put in front of you that is giving you the keys to the universe, but you can't see it because you think about $50 in a big booty. Do you understand? Do you follow what I'm saying? Like I think that really part of solving this problem is going to require us to be able to meditate and raise the consciousness level. Consciousness is leveling up. Consciousness is is seeing the bigger picture. Okay, seeing the bigger picture. Now, someone's asking about things like creating trust. We are going to have a class on that soon in the Black Business School. Kelly Baker is the attorney who wants to come in and do some stuff here. In financial consciousness training, we're going to focus on this. This is what we do here. But if you want special topics, we have all the special topics in the Black Business School. So feel free to go to theblackbusinessschool.com and you can take a look. And there's plenty of stuff there, stock options, stock market, stuff like that. And we do have some stuff on trusts already, but we're actually going to revamp some of that soon. So I'll keep you guys posted. Okay, I'm done talking. I'm done talking. I don't have anything else to say. I just want to sort of say when you talk about black wealth and you understand the power of black wealth and realize that wealth is your greatest form of power in America, I think the question would be who's going to do the job? Right? Who's gonna change the trajectory? Who's going to change the narrative? Who's going to have the conversation? And I'm trying to contribute to it. That's my way of doing it, imperfectly, I'm sure, but I'm trying. And I would like for you to have those conversations in your own family. And so one of the most important things to remember though, when you go in that families, I need you to go into that conversation is I want you to enter the conversation with a sense of pride, meaning that even if you don't have a nickel, I don't care if you don't have a nickel in your bank account. If you are a person who is intelligent, a person who works hard, a person who's trying to grow, a person who's trying to be good and supportive to others around you, you have not just a lot of value that you're bringing to a discussion, but you also have um, potential and value that you may not even recognize. You may not even recognize what your contribution is going to look like. Really, only God is going to know that. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you're Martin Luther King Sr., not Junior, Senior, and you're just you're a father, you're doing a couple of things, but you're not nationally famous or anything, but you're raising your kids, you're taking care of your wife, you're having everybody sit down for dinner every day, you're talking about positive things, you're making sure your children get a good education. Martin Luther King Sr., I bet, did not have any idea really what seeds he was planting when he was sitting there talking to Martin Luther King Jr. every single night at dinner. Do you understand? He didn't know how important his job was. He just simply did his job and did it to the best of his ability. And that's what led to one of the great leaders, the history of the world. You understand? Or Muhammad Ali's father, Cassius Clay Sr. I think his name was Cassius. I got to double check that. So Muhammad Ali's father, same thing, right? So you don't know what seed you're planting. You don't know what person you're influencing. You don't know when the fruits of your labor are going to apply, or even if maybe it never happens. But still though, I think that there's some value there when we all do our job, because think about it like this: if Martin Luther King Sr. had not done his job, there would be no Martin Luther King Jr. If he just said, "Well, I ain't nobody, I ain't important. I'm just gonna be a baby daddy and just go get girls pregnant and abandon my kids," and well, then you've just killed off this big wormhole of possibilities that would have existed. I like the word wormhole because wormhole sort of creates space. It creates access to an alternative dimension, right? So you have this wormhole of possibility that God opened up for you, and you just walk right past it. And remember, when we talk about the word poor, what does poor stand for? Poor. Poor stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly, passing over opportunities repeatedly. So I would argue that if you were to make the statement that the black community is wealth poor, which is somewhat accurate relative to other groups in America, I would say it's not just because of what's been taken from us. It's also a result of us passing over opportunities to get some of that back. Do you understand? Every single day, you have an opportunity to build your empire, build your kingdom, build your wealth, take yourself to the next level, whatever that looks like. Don't let those opportunities pass by. Go grab it. Okay. All right. Now let me share with you guys. I mentioned to you all I'm doing that special training tomorrow, Black Wealth 101. And also at the end, once you're done and you go through all the content, and it's a self-contained sort of class. You get lifetime access for $299. And once you're done, you can actually get a certificate from me, from the Dr. Boyce Academy. I'm going to share this link with you. The cost is $299 for lifetime access. Those of you that are in the class, you can actually get access for $155. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link in the chat for those of you that want to join. I'm going to do a live training on 8 major financial diseases that you want to be able to identify and avoid. And that's going to be tomorrow, Sunday at 3 p.m. If you can't make Sunday at 3 p.m., that's okay. All the materials, all the slides, all the recordings are yours for life. So that'll be yours. And I'm putting this link in here. So if you hit that link, that'll take you directly to the checkout page. But if you want to know what some of the topics that we're going to cover in Black Wealth 101. It includes things like debt-itis, emergency fund deficiency syndrome, investophobia, credit card dependence disorder, impulse buying disorder, things like that, the spend luxury syndrome, underinsurance syndrome, etc. And I'm sure Aisha Verzi has a lot to say about that. And Aisha is actually in this class if you want to talk to her about insurance needs or anything else. Her phone number is actually on my site, drboyceoffers.com. So you can go to drboyceoffers.com and feel free to talk to Aisha. Tell her that I sent you. I think Aisha's in here. There she is. Hey, Aisha, how you doing? All right. And so, yeah, so the code, if you hit the code Calvin, it will give you the discount immediately. It will take you right to the page that reduces the price from $299 for lifetime access to $155. And so, in addition to the training, you can also get access to all the material that's in there. And then once you're done, you are eligible to print out your certificate. And that is a certification to say that you went through Black Wealth 101, because I believe that we are our own educational system, and I believe that we should be educating ourselves and each other. And so that's what I'm doing with that. So I hope that works for you guys. I hope that makes sense. I hope that you're interested. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Have a great day. God bless you, and I will see you all tomorrow. And let's go get it. Have a good day, everybody. Oh, do you wait? The code? Do you see the code, Tracy? Okay, I put it in there. I put it in there again. Let me know if you see it. There's the link again. One more time. Does everybody see it? Let me know if you see it. If you don't see it, then I don't know what else I could do, but there it is. So okay, great. All right, perfect.